Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. This past legislative session, lawmakers passed a bill that will allow wineries to operate in Nevada's bigger counties like Washoe. Now, budding wineries have to figure out how to survive our hot, dry conditions. Kind of a gamble to see if the industry will be successful here. Dennis Eckmeyer, the president of the Nevada Wine Coalition, is here to talk about that with us. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you know, big decision in the legislature, AB 4 passing. How excited were you guys?
Oh, very excited. Very excited. I mean, it's taken a little over a year to get this to this point, so now we can start reaping the fruits of our labor, no pun intended. So, yeah.
Oh, were you surprised? Did you expect it to pass?
You know, nothing's ever easy with the legislative process. We had a pretty good inkling that it was going to pass right from the get-go. We expected some opposition, and quite frankly, we didn't have much until November, and that's when, you know, we had to start making some concessions and changing things a bit. But for me, it made sense because it was a totally nonpartisan bill. It generates jobs, it's an agriculture crop, it generates taxes, so why wouldn't you want it?
Yeah, that kind of begs the question why it wasn't legal to begin with to have wineries in Nevada's bigger counties.
From the research we were able to determine was it was primarily, the laws were primarily set up to help the rural counties establish wineries, and they didn't want the larger counties to step on their toes and make it more difficult. But that law was amended back in 1993, so that's why we went in to get the population cap removed, because it just makes sense now because we've got a budding wine industry in Washoe County now.
Yeah, so what does the industry look like now in Nevada compared to how you guys expect it to look, say, 5 years from now?
Well, hopefully it'll grow by leaps and bounds over the next 5 or 6 years. Right now, I'm really encouraged because I don't know if you've been through Washoe County at all, or Pleasant Valley lately, but there's several for sale signs that say ranch/winery question mark. So a lot of people are getting on board. I know that several people have recently purchased land in Pleasant Valley, anticipating planting vines. Believe it or not, there's about almost 30,000 vines planted in backyards and stuff right now in Washoe County, just in people's backyards, front yards, and people that are interested in growing grapes and making wine.
So the bill covers commercial wineries. Is it also kind of opening the way for people to just grow their own grapes and make their own wine?
Yeah, that's part of it. This all started about a couple of years ago. We were partnering with the university, and we formed a nonprofit called Nevada Vines and Wines with the idea of making wine and selling it. And then we found out that you couldn't get a commercial winery license in Washoe County, so then we had to form the Wine Coalition, which is a PAC, so that we could get the law changed, so that we could, you know, it's the domino effect, so we could go back and then start making wine. So yeah, that's the whole idea would be to hopefully encourage people to open a commercial winery in Washoe County and Clark County for that matter.
Have you had people saying to you, we're in a drought? You know, how are you crazy? I mean, how do you plan on growing these things?
Actually, our climate is very similar to Eastern Washington, and Washington is the second largest wine producing state in the country. So our climate is very well suited for growing grapes. And if you look at the water usage, grapes use considerably less than the leading agriculture crop in Nevada, which is alfalfa. So an acre of alfalfa takes about 54 inches of water per year. An acre of grapes takes between 4 and 5, depending on the variety. So the water, it could actually be a boon to farmers who want to replace some of their crops.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. things like grapes and also olives, right?
Yep, olives, grapes, yeah. And the yield, the cash crop from an acre of alfalfa is roughly $1,400. The yield of a cash crop of, we'll say, Riesling grapes is roughly $7,700. So, wow. Yeah, so economically it makes a lot more sense too.
Okay, so are there specific types of grapes that you guys expect to do well in Nevada, or is it any type? Yes,
and it's like any other microclimate. Northern Nevada is well suited for growing like Gewürztraminer and Riesling grapes, and in the reds, Lemberger and Frau Blanc, Blaufranc. So those are typically blended grapes. We also had some pretty decent luck with some Cabernet grapes and Pinot's kind of tough, but yes, there are certain varieties that grow better in northern Nevada, and in southern Nevada, it's the opposite because of their dry, humid conditions. They tend to grow better Syrah and Zins, and not so much on the whites.
Interesting. So, and I know that you guys have already been kind of experimentally producing small quantities of wine. Obviously, you haven't been able to sell it,
Right.
And it's done well. It tastes good.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, yeah. We've done pretty well with some of the grapes, and obviously a lot of it has to do with the grapes, and then a lot of it has to do with the winemaking process itself. So frankly, there's some really good amateur winemakers in northern Nevada, and have done pretty well at some competitions. The Nevada Vines and Wines and the Wine Coalition had some wines that we poured up in Portland, and one of our members took third place with his, I think it was a Zin. So yeah, so it's viable, and it can be commercially viable. We just need to get the volume up.
Yeah, I think I saw some people who were in favor of this bill saying that northern Nevada especially can be a little Napa, like a little Napa Valley.
Right. The whole goal was to create agritourism, agriculture crops, create jobs. So if you think about it, I mean, roughly from a commercial standpoint, an acre of grapes is going to create roughly 2.5 jobs. Okay. Now that's not necessarily the people who are clipping the grapes and crushing them, but that's from the harvest to the crushing to the winemaking, all the way down to the people who are your servers pouring the wine on the tables. So that is the ultimate goal, is to encourage people to grow grapes and hopefully start selling some commercial wine. I would like to see some wine tasting rooms down in Midtown pouring, Nevada wines.
Local wine,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the timeline for that? About how long does it take to set up a vineyard, get some grapes grown, produce your first bottle?
Depending upon the variety, you're talking probably 4 to 6 years, okay? So that's the trade-off, is by the time you get your vines in the ground and get them to the point where they're actually producing, 4 to 6 years. But the answer to that is to import grapes from California, Washington, Oregon, and using those grapes to make the wine in Nevada. They just couldn't technically be Nevada grown wine, but that's the whole idea. So we can get the grapes brought in from out of state, use that until our grapes become commercially viable.
Is there a financial incentive in either direction to import from another state or to grow them here?
Right now, one of the concessions that we had to make to get the law passed was to make sure that 25% of the wine made included Nevada-grown grapes. So if you make more than 1,000 cases, you have to include 25% Nevada-grown grapes. That's rather problematic because there's not that many vines in northern Nevada right now. But I think we can work around that for the short time, and then hopefully get some more vines in the ground. Like I said, there's a lot of people planting vines now. So I would anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years that there should be quite a bit of crop availability.
Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. So until that point, until Nevada vines get up and producing, they can make smaller quantities, fewer cases? Okay.
Yeah. Right now, the way the law reads is you can produce up to 1,000 cases with imported grapes. So that's kind of the limit. Anything over 1,000 cases, 1,001 has to include 25% Nevada-grown grapes. And like I said, hopefully we'll get some vines in the ground and get some commercial grapes going.
Absolutely. Now, all of this effort that you guys put in to get this bill through obviously didn't come cheap. No. You had lobbying costs.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, we hired a lobbyist about a year ago, and she has been absolutely fantastic. Randy Thompson has been our lobbyist, and she has been engaged right from the get-go. She's been helping with the fundraising. She really believes in the law. But now that we got the law passed, we still have to pay off our debts. So we have been holding wine tastings, special events. The Garden Shop Nursery has been fabulous with helping us out. The studio on 4th Street has been good to us, helping us out there. The people at Churchill County, Frays, have been fabulous. Tahoe Ridge has been good. So they've all been on board. And now if anyone wants to donate, go to NevadaWineCoalition.com and send us some money. We would really appreciate that. Or go to the website and look at some of our upcoming events.
Now, where did most of the money come from to fund this to begin with? I mean, is it out of pocket? Wow. You really believed in it that much, huh?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, this was totally a grassroots startup. We have 6 people on our board, and that was pretty much the driving force. And then our sister organization, Nevada Vines and Wines, has been very supportive with the membership there, attending a lot of the events. So, but yeah, we have a lot of money to pay back.
Okay, so wine fans out there, if you have a little money to spare,
That's right.
you should incentivize it and tell them, we'll give you our first bottles that we
Well,
produce.
Well, we try to make it worthwhile. Like I said, we had a fundraiser at the Garden Shop a while back, and I think it was $50 for a ticket, and we poured a lot of locally made wine and we poured a lot of commercial wine. So I think everyone had a good time. We had some good hors d'oeuvres and stuff.
All right, perfect. Well, we're running out of time, but is there anything else you wanted to add? Anything you wanted to say?
Oh gosh, no, I just want to thank everybody for all of their support. Everyone I've talked to said this is an awesome idea, and go to NevadaWineCoalition.com and send us some money. We'd really appreciate your support.
Perfect, of course. And we will go ahead and post that website on our website so people can get to it easily.
Great.
Just head to KTVN.com and look for that website to donate.
Cool.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
We do
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Okay.
Coming up on Face the State, as Nevada's main industries get more and more diverse, so do our exports. So what does the state need to do to better operate in a global market? We'll find out right after the break.